It's the Kyle Heimann Show on Redeemer Radio.
And I look back at this and I realize that something horrible had happened. I basically cheated my way into the postseason squad, into the 7th man.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Flavor of the Week, brought to you by Cap and Cork Beer, Wine, and Spirits, with 15 locations in Fort Wayne and New Haven. In good spirits, in good company. In Flavor of the Week, Kyle sits down with one of our local priests over 4 different episodes to sample variations of a favorite food or drink while they discuss the ins and outs of life as a priest.
Welcome to Flavor of the Week, Part 3. I'm Kyle Heimann here with Father Daniel Niezer.
Hello.
We are on our 3rd IPA. This is the Hazy Hero Hazy IPA from Revolution Brewing.
Where's Revolution out of? I forget. Michigan?
Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, okay. Cheers.
Cheers. It definitely is hazier.
Yep.
Like if you look.
Yep. Yeah, so I don't even know what the hazy means, though. I wish I knew. I was like
Cloudy.
Kyle asked me, what do you want to do for the flavor of the week? I'm like, well, alcohol sounds good. What have I been? I've been drinking a lot of IPAs last year, but honestly, still haven't really learned anything about them.
Yeah.
It just tastes good.
Yeah. I like that you are writing these down and keeping it. This is like a flight here. You've got.
Yeah. So we've got 5 different beers, 4 different topics for a flavor of the week.
So next one we'll have to double up. We'll have to do 2 of them.
Okay. And so I've got them all written down in front of me so I can compare each one because I haven't finished all of them yet.
Uh-huh.
Or any one of them. So.
What do you think so far? What's first impression?
Good. Still better. So the last one, we had the Founders all day, which was just, to me, just way too neutral.
Okay.
I guess I'm leaning more towards, I don't know, some sort of a different just flavor. And I don't know what it is.
Is this not quite there yet?
No, I think it's good. Better than the...
I feel like this one's got a little bit more... You were talking about citrusy.
Yeah.
Got a little bit more of that fruity. Starting in that
I think
direction.
so. Yeah, it's good. That's all. That's about all it is.
Okay. All right. Well, 2 topics left. Running and bringing people back to the church.
Yeah.
Which should we tackle first?
Let's do running.
Okay.
Just get the mundane out of the way.
So did you run in high school?
Ran in high school.
When did you start competitive running?
High school.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did also.
Oh, no. I mean, middle school, I guess.
Did you?
Technically. Yeah. I ran cross-country track
Okay. Yeah.
in middle school.
That's not technically. That's pretty.
Is that
pretty,
competitive?
pretty
I guess you can be competitive in middle school. But for me, it was never... I grew up playing so many different sports.
Mm-hmm.
It was just everything. I don't know how it was possible, but I just remember I would always have just a docket of like at least 2 or 3 sports going on at one time in my life.
Yeah.
And
looking back at that, do you think that was a little ridiculous? I was probably overdoing it. Or do you look back at that and say, was the best decision I ever made?
Oh, no.
It's made me who I am.
It was what my parents wanted. Well, I liked it.
Yeah.
They must have.
Encouraged
They
it.
encouraged it.
Supported your
And I was a
enthusiasm.
good athlete. I was able to pick up sports well. So that's just what we did.
Mm-hmm.
But out of all of the different things that I did, soccer, baseball, tennis, swimming, out of all of that, jump roping.
Oh, that's right. Jump roping.
Basketball was like that was my main sport.
Basketball was number 1.
Basketball was number 1. And I was good too.
Mm-hmm.
At least I thought I was up until high school.
Uh-huh.
If you look at my parents, you've got my dad, who I don't know exactly the kind of the dimensions, but we're talking about a big man.
Okay.
He's one of 6 boys who are all just big football players.
Okay.
And so just a big guy.
Uh-huh.
And then you've got my mom, who is completely opposite. So small, very thin. And I guess I'm kind of like the mix I've got a little bit of my dad's height, just a little bit. I'm not super tall, but tall enough. And then just slender, just very thin. So growing up, getting into high school, you know, I was really good at basketball, but then all of a sudden something happened. Like I got into high school and like all these guys are huge. And I'm just this, I didn't break 100 pounds till I was a junior in high school.
Wow.
Like what is wrong with this body? So
what about height?
I was okay. I mean,
under 100 pounds.
Yeah, I was.
Is different for
skin
5
and
foot
bones
versus 6 foot.
Yeah, I wasn't 6. I would have maybe been 5'6", 5'7", going through high school. 5'8". I'm not. Maybe I'm not sure. But I was just so small compared to these dudes who were coming on the court. And my brother ahead of me, he ran very successfully cross country and track. Mm-hmm. So I was transitioning from a public school to a private school. So public school in Southwest Allen County to Bishop Dwenger for high school. So I didn't really have any friends. I didn't really know. So I thought, well, my brother enjoyed cross country, so this will be an easy in for me to get acquainted with new people before I got into school. And so I ran cross country and really, really enjoyed it freshman year, but still planning on, you know, I'm gonna play basketball. But, you know, come whenever it was, November or late October, tryouts, yeah, I'm getting on the court and just like, I'm getting my butt kicked. Just all sorts of, I couldn't hold my own. I'm a good shooter, good ball handler, but I just couldn't, no muscle development, nothing. And so I got cut. And thankfully, I wasn't like too disappointed about it because I knew, well, I enjoyed cross country and I had kind of recognized the fact that I wasn't really built yet to be a good basketball player. So I just decided, okay, that's fine. I'll do track. And so I ended up just letting basketball be and focusing more on cross country and track.
So cross country is in the fall, track's in the spring, mm-hmm. Basketball is in the winter. So instead of doing basketball in the winter, you're just training year round.
Training, with the exception of my sophomore year, I did swimming.
Okay.
I think it was my sophomore year.
Our stories are very similar.
What did you do?
But except I haven't grown since the 7th grade, height-wise. I've put on weight, but so I was a great basketball player just because I was taller than everybody else. I had no other skills. So as soon as everybody caught up with me in height, my basketball career is over. So freshman year, played basketball, but not very much. Sat the bench a lot. So sophomore year, I tried wrestling because our school was really big on wrestling. Meanwhile, I did cross country just to get in shape for basketball because I thought basketball was my sport. Mm-hmm. And I ended up being good at cross country. So then I did track in the spring, freshman year.
Oh my gosh.
Sophomore year, come back and I do cross country, wrestling, track. I was terrible at wrestling because it was my first year and everybody else had been wrestling since kindergarten. So then junior and senior year, I just ran all year round.
Oh, great. Was this down in Decatur?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
What year did you graduate?
2011.
Dwenger in 2011?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're a lot younger than I.
I'm still pretty young.
Yeah.
People are generally shocked still when they see me wearing a collar, which has turned into, I get to use that pretty well when people are surprised to see me as a priest. And I can throw any number of jokes or witty comments at them, or just straight up yell at them for not believing in me. But yeah, the Hispanics are great. They generally, for younger priests, they'll call you Padrecito, and these like old Hispanic moms, they're like, "Oh, Padrecito, oh." I'm like, they're like their grandkid,
right?
Just this little kid dressing up as a priest. But yeah, so running turned out to be a huge, just loved it. Just ended up just falling in love with it and doing okay with it. I was never as good as my brother was. I was never as dedicated either, mm-hmm. even though just the passion was there. I mean, I loved the team. I loved the dynamics. I loved the summer training but yeah. So senior year, high school. We're set to have a really good team this year, and I'm on the fringe of varsity and JV. So in cross country in high school, you've got 7 runners who run varsity. And then in postseason, you can have a postseason squad of, I think at the time, I don't know if it's changed, but at the time it was 12 runners. So you've got a squad of 12 guys in postseason, but only 7 are running. Mm-hmm. And then of those 7, the first 5 are scored.
Yeah.
To determine how your team does. And our team was really good my senior year. And I was right on the fringe of like the 7, 8, 9th runner. Okay. And so like, okay, maybe I could do it. And we're doing really good throughout the year. And it comes into the time right before postseason is coming. And I'm still like right on that fringe. And I look back at this and I realize that something horrible had happened. I basically cheated my way into the postseason squad, into the 7th man on the running team, without me knowing it. But I believe that I totally cheated.
You cut a corner or something?
Oh no! Oh, it's great. So every year, for whatever reason, in high school, every summer, and this was the first time it had happened when I was a freshman, I got poison ivy. Mm-hmm. So summer's going, whatever. You run through the woods, and you get poison ivy. Yeah, so I didn't know what it was until like you started getting it, and then what had happened is that each year it got worse. Like I would get it a second time that next year, and like as a sophomore, and it was worse than the freshman year. And it's so I started to realize that poison ivy, it stinks. And you're running, and so your body's like kind of moving. You got a lot of friction with your legs and your arms, and so poison ivy, it just tended to spread as well. So junior year, I get it. Senior year, running, and I get poison ivy again. And it's like late September, early October. We're getting into like the kind of the final weeks of the season, and I think
I know where this is going.
And I've got this poison ivy, and this one is bad. It's like all over the place, just like legs, arms, head, eyes, like everything.
Yeah, I've been there.
And like I just remember being miserable in school each day, and like dressing up at Dwenger, like you had to wear the shirt and the tie, and like everything just always was just like a bear. So finally it just got to the point, and like I said, with the friction and things, like when you've got poison ivy just like rubbing up against each other, like you just get some nasty things going on. Yeah. So I finally decided to go to ReadyMed to get it looked at, to see like, hey, like, is this normal? Like, am I doing okay, or am I going to die? Like, am I having a severe allergic reaction to this poison ivy? Because I've gotten it every year and it seems to get worse and worse and worse. Mm-hmm. So I go to the clinic, and she's like looking at my face and my arms. And it's like not horrible. And then she looks at my legs, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I'll be back." So she goes back, and I get a shot of something, and then I get a prescription of whatever, 8 days of this drug. Well, the shot and the drugs, they were both steroid drugs. That's what you do. Yeah. And it so happened, I didn't realize this at the time, but it all, like, the timing coincided so perfectly that all of a sudden, all of my runs, they were incredible. I felt so good. Yeah. And I was just moving and doing these like 10, 12 mile runs just with ease. And that coincided with some of these last races before the postseason, and my time started dropping pretty dramatically. So I got into the 7th slot for the postseason, and with the best race of my life. And then as the postseason wore on, I started getting tired, and my time started slipping back and back. So like, our team ended up being great. We won semi-state, and we didn't have a good showing at the state meet. But here I was. I made the cut, but I was really, I struggled those last meets, and my time just went back to about how it was before. And it wasn't until like 2 or 3 years afterwards that I looked back and I thought about, that was a steroid. But certainly, like, this isn't what like steroids are when you like want to be better at sports.
Yeah.
Well, you do some quick research.
They're called the same thing.
Yeah. So that's how I cheated my way into the postseason.
So what's the moral of the story?
The moral of the story is don't take steroids, kids. And be ignorant of everything. No, I just thought that was a funny story. So what I really wanted to share about, though, was just how since then, I mean, I haven't ran competitively. I ran my freshman year of college at Wabash, but even then I was out for most of the season because I got a pretty nasty stress fracture. And it was after that when I started just being on my own and started running just because of it for exercise that I realized how good it was for me and how important it was for me to have this in my life as just as a foundation block for how I live is this particular exercise. And and so basically through the years I've been trending up and down for good months of good training, other months of not really doing much, but just how good it's been for me as a priest, how good it was at times when I was a seminarian, and how it is like of all the sports, running is still my favorite and my passion.
How often do you run?
So right now I'm only doing about 3 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened like 3 or 4 months ago. Leg wasn't doing great. So I took the past couple months off. So I'm now just building back up again. What was fascinating though, so in high school we started this. There's a website, runningtowin.com, and there's a couple different of these, but it's a running log website. So you log your runs and your
sounds like a St. Paul quote.
What do you mean?
Run the races.
Oh, running to win. Yeah,
right.
Had nothing. Yeah, which is great. But so ever since I was a freshman in high school, I have like a decade worth of runs logged. And how I felt too,
No
like
way.
you could post like your comments and your how you were feeling and everything. So every once in a while, it's fun to go back and look at like my posts when I was a freshman in high school, being like, I ran with the big kids today, hooray! But the neat thing going back, and you see like trends, like when you were running, when you weren't running, and when you're talking about the spiritual life, it was really interesting to notice. I saw weeks when I wasn't running, or even months, and I look back on those months and I realized specifically those were bad months. Not bad months because I wasn't running, but like looking at my spiritual life, yikes. Like there was some bad, just either prayer didn't exist or prayer was stale or just things were happening. And so it was interesting to see that as the trend of running went up and down, so did the trend of my spiritual life.
So does the running cause you to have a better spiritual life, or is it the times that you don't get out and run are because you're so busy that you don't have time to run, or you don't have the discipline to do it, and that's also the times you're too busy for your prayer life, or you don't have the discipline for your prayer life?
It's more the second.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more the second. But
it's more of an indicator or a symptom,
yes,
rather than a cause of the spiritual.
Right. So it's not a direct, like
Yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah.
like, although as you said, St. Paul, he's got a lot of good heart for runners. But yeah, it was interesting. So that was an indicator of basically like, oh, how am I going to be healthy? How am I going to be happy? How am I going to be holy? Like all of these things are kind of connected, and structuring your day is so important for adults.
Yeah.
And how like there are certain things that we should strive to have in our day, no matter what the outside circumstances are. Or, of course, you've got stuff, and stuff happens, especially as a priest. There's days you can't do some of these things, and that's okay. But more often than not, there should be general habits that you should have, and running is one of those. And basically the thought was that if I'm running, that means that I'm choosing to be disciplined in my day, which means if I'm choosing to be disciplined in my day, that means I'm also going to be praying, because I know that like these are the important things in my day. And I'm also going to be eating well and hopefully going to bed on time. Those are big indicators of like, how am I cooperating in this life? If I can keep those things on my plate throughout the day. So
do you put running on your schedule? Like, is that something that you block off time for?
Yeah.
Rather than just try to fit it in when you can?
Yeah. And it's exactly the same with prayer.
Yeah.
I very easily can let my prayer just go away if it's not an intentional decision. Because the reality is that prayer is more often than not, it's not glamorous.
Right.
There's not really a huge excitement or drive to go to prayer. There's of course, like, I know prayer is wonderful, but like in terms of just your sentimentality of like, I feel the desire to be in communion with Jesus in this. No, that's just it's not your typical day in, day out.
It's a lot easier to just put on a movie.
Yes.
Turn on the TV, scroll through Facebook.
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything. So yeah, so the same with running. Like it has to go. I have to choose to do this day in and day out when I can, and that's been huge. I was really thankful. Father Matthew, huge runner. I've mentioned him a couple times already, but
do you guys run together much?
Not often.
Yeah,
he has always been, since I've been a priest, and for however many past number of years, he's always been at least 3 levels higher than I have. Somehow.
Yeah.
As a man who beats me by a number of years, he is still incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Which is it's just I don't get it. I tell people that he's a machine made by the diocese to be a perfect priest.
There you go.
But
all right, well, Father Daniel, we'll have to next time talk about bringing people back to the faith. I'm really curious.
Yep.
Your thoughts on that, and also curious what your thoughts are on the Hazy Hero.
So as the Hazy Hero gets a little warmer, it's not as good.
Okay.
So I think those citrusy flavors, they don't taste as good as the beer just kind of mellows out a little bit. So
we were doing some, I forget what you would call them, some darker beers with Father Craig Borchard. And he was all about letting them warm up a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Which maybe it's remnants from just like, all I wanted was a cold Bud Light.
Yeah.
But I still love a cold beer. So, okay. So we've had the Dogfish Head.
7 to 8.
7 to 8?
That's what you rated it.
Oh, okay. Yep. The Founders All Day.
5.
And Revolution Brewing. Hazy Hero. So longevity, the Founders All Day is doing a lot better than Revolution. So yeah, tasted really good to start. I'm like, yeah, not as impressed anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd put it about the same, 5 or 6.
Okay. Harsh critic, but we've got 2 more to try.
Yeah.
The next one.
I'm expecting big things.
Okay, we'll see what happens. All right. Well, thank you so much, Father Daniel. This has been a lot of fun.
Always great. We'll keep going.
Also, our thanks to Captain Cork for underwriting Flavor of the Week. And we'll be back next week with another episode. One of the best ways you can support us is to share this podcast with your friends. We'd appreciate it. And until next time, remember to leave room for the Holy Spirit.